here to invite our first distinguished speaker for this evening's conversation, Mr. Onyebuchi. So, Mr. Onyebuchi is a distinguished educationist, public affairs analyst, and disability rights advocate who has dedicated his life work to promoting inclusivity, accessibility, and dignity for all. With a passion for empowering individuals and communities, he has made significant contributions to the fields of education and disability inclusion advocacy. Mr. Onyebuchi has an NCE in English and Political Science from the Enugu State College of Education, Technical. He has a degree in education from the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, and currently he is studying for a master's degree in education management. As an educationist, Onyebuchi has demonstrated a deep understanding of the complexities of the education system and has worked to promote innovative and inclusive approaches to learning. His expertise has been invaluable in shaping education policies and programs that cater to diverse needs. Onyebuchi's advocacy also for disability rights has been instrumental in promoting awareness and understanding of the challenges faced by persons with disabilities. He has worked closely with organizations and governments to develop and implement policies that promote accessibility, inclusion, and equality. Through his tireless efforts, Onyebuchi has made a lasting impact on the lives of countless individuals and communities. His work has helped in the enactment of the 2023 Enugu State Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Law, promoting a more inclusive and equitable society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. As a champion for education, disability rights, and human dignity, Onyebuchi continues to inspire and motivate others to join the fight for a more just and compassionate world. His legacy serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of empathy, of understanding, and collective action in creating a better future for all. And this evening, Mr. Onyebuchi will be taking the stage to speak on a very important topic, Onye and Nwanne, advocating for a more inclusive Ala Ìgbò. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together for Mr. Onyebuchi as he comes up the stage to make his presentation. Please keep clapping until he comes up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I feel so excited hearing my name being mentioned in them, as in, I feel like, who am I? However, today is a special day, I must say. Special thanks to the management of Center for Memories. Director, I salute you and your team. More grace to function. I want to say that I think my standing here is like that of the John the Baptist, because he appeared to clear the road for Jesus. So I am standing here to clear the road for my boss, Sir David Anyaele, the Honorable. One of the greatest voices, or one of the greatest voices we have had in the Eastern Nigeria and Africa as a whole, talking about disability inclusion and driving that most desired change in our society. So I salute you. You're welcome to the city of Enugu. My other fellow persons with disabilities, the media, and our other guests around us here. I will not also forget my very good friends, the students who have been here with us since afternoon. I appreciate each and every one of us. And like I said, my presentation this evening will not take much of our time, knowing that the boss is here. And I think he's one of those who taught us the job, who taught us whatever you see us do today, whatever you hear us say today, is part of what he has planted in us that we are trying to, practice. And I must continuously thank you, Sir David. Yeah, the topic of Onye and Nwanne, the concept of Onye and Nwanne, I think has been an old-time adage in Igbo land, an old-time concept in Igbo land that some of us grew to meet and, unfortunately, will I say, failed to make it a part of our daily lives. Because the concept of Onye and Nwanne, I think, has gone beyond even the international treaties, the Africa Charter, the Nigeria disability laws, and other documents that speak about the rights and dignity of man. The concept of Onye and Nwanne reminds us about Onye, that of Egbebere, Ugobere. Eziokwu na na-asị Egbebere Ugobere nke si ibe ya Ebele, asị nkwukwa ya, mana we don't say so these days. We always say, Igosi eboga, Igosi eboga ebe, maka na ikwa maro ibezi ya. So the concept of Onye and Nwanne advocating for a more inclusive Ala Ìgbò. Ala Ìgbò means Anambra, Abia, Imo, Ebonyi, Enugu, including our other brothers that are on the other side of the geographical zone of the country that are also Igbos. Unfortunately, like I said ab initio, the Onye and Nwanne concept appears to have been lost because these days a whole lot of things have changed. While I emphasize on the concept of Onye and Nwanne, let me also begin this brief presentation by first letting us know about who is Onyebuchi. Onyebuchi briefly is born and brought up here in Enugu State, Uzuwani precisely. Onyebuchi, the only child of his late parents. Onyebuchi was not born blind, but by the provisions of nature, will I say unfairness of nature, I saw myself in the disability world. At the age of 11, by children playing, I lost my first sight, as in my right eye. And by that play, a whole lot of things began to manifest in my life. Knowing the family I came from as such poor family background, and being the only child. Unfortunately, the poor parents couldn't change anything because that saw me through. You making use of my one eye, I finished up my primary education, was taken to Lagos as Igbo man now, pure typical Igbo man, Igbo boy. While in Lagos, I had another incident that a colleague also slapped me on the remaining eye, and that brought about the closure of both eyes. That particular slap that happened in Lagos in 1996 and happened again in 1998 August was on a different occasion by different individuals. And in the year 2000, Onyebuchi, after armed robbery attack that nearly took my life in Lagos in a shop, I told my master that I need to go home. For a living dog, the Bible says, better than dead lion. I returned back home meeting my poor parents. My mother in particular, seeing me return back home blanched, was shocked and fainted. And that shock, after 5 years, she passed on. My father also passed on. Onyebuchi was left alone in the house. People come in, if you want to eat, come to my house. If you want to drink water, come to my house. A reverend father took me to intervened and took me to special school Ojiliba. That was the turnaround to my life, because by then I actually felt I was the only blind person. But getting to Ojiliba special education made me to begin to see life in another dimension. I not only saw other fellow persons with visual impairment, but began to gather the courage that in spite of this so-called visual impairment, blindness, I can still make it. And I can still make it. One thing that also inspired me was that there was a time on Radio Nigeria that I do listen to radio very well, and there was this program called You Can Make It. I don't miss that program. I don't joke with that program. I continue to listen to that program, and it continued to inspire me. And here am I today, from OG to CIC, from CIC to College of Education to Nnamdi Azikiwe University. and counting. Onyebuchi is still standing, and this is not the key. So, why are we saying all this? We are saying all this because somebody somewhere desires that inspiration. Somebody somewhere may be down, thinking that all hope is gone. If you are here and you know a boy, a girl, a child with disability, any form that is down there in the different families, maybe the family may have been hidden and hiding that child. Go and tell them that there is hope in every disabled child or in every physically challenged child. Go and tell that family to bring out their child, that child can still be useful, not only to himself, not only to the family, but to the society. So I want to say that I would like to introduce us to international documents that are speak to the dignity of man, that are speak to the inclusion of one another in state and societal affairs. Unfortunately, it appears we have a whole lot of documents and policies that were never implemented and that have not really solved the problems of man, including, particularly persons with disabilities. If you talk of United Nations rights on persons with disabilities, the Convention of UN on rights of persons with disability, it speaks on three key concepts: accessibility, participation, and inclusion. And if you are to bring it down to Ala Ìgbò, how is that accessibility in our own society? How is that participation in our own society? How is that inclusion in our own society? I understand the fact that disability law sometimes, a few years ago in Nigeria, appears to become the order of the day. But like I said also, we have too many policies, too many documents, but the problems appear to be on the increase, unsolved. Lamentations, issues affecting persons with disabilities on the rise without much attention given to it. And one is beginning to ask a different question: what is the problem? There was a time we thought disability law, absence of disability law in Nigeria has become the problem. But we had disability law. 2018, this is 2025. About 23 states or more in Nigeria have actually domesticated this law. And Southeast in particular, Abia has done this. Disability Commission is ongoing, running. Anambra has also done this. The commission is running. Imo State has also passed and signed into law, waiting for the Disability Commission to come on board. Ebonyi State has also done this, waiting for governor's assent to the law, to the bill, for it to become a law. Enugu State also did this in 2023. And then 2 years down the line, there is nothing to show about the much desired Disability Commission. And we are asking, what other measure, what other approach can we begin to adopt to get not only the attention of the state actors, but also you and I in the society, but also the market women, but also the religious leaders, for us to collectively know that we are talking about Egbebere, Ugobere. Onye na Nwanne. Onye na Nwanne concept in United Nations, they call it Operation Leave No One Behind. Leave no one behind is a slogan from UN. And we are asking that question. In Nigeria today, Southeast as a region, Ala Ìgbò, how far are we? Where are we in all of these? Is it that we are to leave the aspect of the laws? What stage are we currently? The state actors appear not to be giving a listening ear to disability matters. The followers appears not to be giving a listening ear to disability matters. How do I mean? Every society, Nelson Mandela said that every society is measured by the way and manner such society regards and treats issues affecting the vulnerable. Our political leaders today, appointments 2 years down the line, and too many appointments have been made. Commissioners, SSAs, this and that. In Enugu State and the whole of Ala Ìgbò, how many persons with disabilities are there? Policies are being made. How many persons with disabilities are there speaking? Like I said, the United Nations Convention on the rights of persons with disabilities focuses on three key concepts: accessibility, participation, and inclusion. How accessible is our government house here? Assuming I walk into the government house now, even to see, as a citizen, bona fide one for that matter, to see my leader, how accessible. Not to talk of the public infrastructure that we do see, houses built here and there that wheelchair users cannot in any way access nor enter. Too many questions begging for answer. Participation is far-fetched, not to talk of inclusion. But we will continue to cry this cry. If you read that of African Charter on Rights, on Human Rights and People's, on Human and People's Rights, 1981, it also emphasizes on three key concepts of dignity, equity, and justice. And that same question is, being asked, where is the dignity of man in Igbo land? Where is the equality that man desires in Igbo land? Echem na ndị Igbo na-ekwu okwu na-asị n'eme onye ka emere ibe ya. Obi adị ya mma. How can we now get to the leadership ladder and then you forgot the fact that name will be Sepota? There is no family or no village here that will tell me they have no child or no single man or woman with disability. Over 25 million persons with disabilities are in Nigeria today. More than them. Like that's why I said over. And then if we are to break that 25 million down to states, how much do you think should be the quota of Enugu and Ala Ìgbò in particular, in general? In a civilized society, the number of persons with disabilities in Enugu State alone can vote in or vote out a governor. If in a sane and a society where things work the way it's supposed to work, the number of individuals with disabilities can determine who governs a state. But here in this part of the world, the reverse is the case. In the ongoing voter registration processes, what are the plans to capture these individuals? What are the mechanisms put in place for the interest of this? In fact, myself standing here personally, I've reached out to Enugu INEC office on how to deliberately plan for how persons with disabilities could be brought into the region. And the feedback I got after some days or weeks was to tell them to return back to their various local government areas. Yet, in INEC office, we have a disability desk. So this calls for worry. And when we talk of all of the concepts where international treaties and charters about human rights and persons with disabilities focuses on, that of National Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Law of 2018 also speaks to the dignity and rights of individuals with disabilities. But the question now is, how much are we enjoying those rights as provided? Like we were sharing before coming on stage, I remember some of us following up that of Enugu State Disability Laws passage in 2023, and you can hear some of our representatives, honorable men, saying, no, Honorable Speaker, this document is a white man document. Our environment is entirely a different thing. In fact, Honorable Speaker, the way I look at this document, it cannot sell here. Our environment is totally a different one from that of Oyibo man. It's a different one from that of Oyibo, but the phone we are using is not a different one from that of Oyibo. The vehicle we are driving is not a different one from that of Oyibo. The plane we are entering is not different from that of Oyibo. Every other thing, the mansions and the monies we are packing and making are not different from that of the white men. But when it comes to matters affecting a certain segment of the society, it becomes Oyibo man property. We are preaching sustainable development goal as the SDG provides from 1 to 17 all over Igbo. Tell me one of it that is functional, targeting individuals that all of these policies and programs were meant for. From that of zero hunger, from that of zero poverty, from that of quality of education, from just name them, from that of accessible and decent workplace and all that. None And that is why I keep talking about our leader who is seated here, a boss I respect so much, Sir Obinna Anyaele, who in years past, when he was, traveling all over the country, Enugu was one of the states where he implemented his programs. And that was part of the capacity that gave us this voice you are hearing today. That was what actually opened our eyes. He said that days of charity are gone. We cannot continue to live in charity. Charity has not changed in my life, because give me 100,000 naira today, I will spend it tomorrow. And then I will return back next tomorrow to ask for more. But teach me how to get that 100,000, I will make a way to be getting it for myself and for my family. Who says that a person with disability does not deserve a life of dignity? You went to the primary school, I went to the same primary school. You went to secondary school, I went to the same secondary school. You went to higher institution, I went to the same higher institution. And then we came out to struggle for opportunities. Who do you think will have that better edge? It is a call for our governors in Igbo land to begin to be intentional on disability matters. No longer charity, not pity, not sympathy. It is all about empathy. Look at yourself. Think if you are the one. Put yourself in my shoe. Anyone seated here or standing here under the sound of my voice, close your eyes. Just try to close your eyes within a minute or two. If you wouldn't mind, walk around closing your eyes. Ask yourself, how do you feel closing your eyes to navigate? If you can find a wheelchair, find it and practicalize it. Use wheelchair to move around. You feel it and know how it pains, it teaches. If you are here and find something and close your, just put up your two ears and then know whether you can hear and hear well. These are some of the practical ways of getting to know what others are feeling. In public infrastructure provisions, no state in Igbo land is intentional in making our roads accessible for individuals with disabilities. That is what accessibility is all about. You can say you build 10 kilometers of road in your tenure, but how accessible are those roads? How accessible? Can a wheelchair user navigate through that the same road? Can a blind man or woman, a blind child, I am using this word for us to understand this language. Otherwise, you know that UN and the international standard says visual impairment, hearing impairment. But I discovered that in this part of the world, until you use a raw phrase or phrases, people will not get to know it. Like in Atensoka some months ago, I was in a bike, and the police officer stopped us, asked us to park. I said, sir, please, can you allow us to go? I'm a special person. And he said, come on, go and park there, special person. Who told you? Are you the only special person in Nigeria? I mean, too, I'm a special person. Go and park there. I told the Okada guy, please go and park. And then we parked. By the time the police officer later met us and said, show me this. I said, oh, God, I think I pleaded with you to allow us to know that I'm a special person. I'm blind. And then he said, hey, now you are talking. You should have told me that you are blind and you are telling me special person. So that is the situation we are in. I got admitted into one of the tertiary institutions in the state. And you know what? During the first semester, I wrote to the management of the school for them to approve a copper or any one of their choice to come into the exam hall and read question papers to my hearing while I make use of my typewriting machine. Second in command, after reading my letter, queried why I was admitted into that school. Who admitted a blind person in this school? How did I get here? By that time, Onyebuchi of today, well, life they say is in stages. If it is today, I would have helped him to, get to the other side. But I still thank God that while he was, querying my admission, another lecturer came in and then told him, Oga, hey, you don't know that there is a policy called inclusive education policy that allows these people to school at any school of their choice. Be it primary, secondary, or tertiary, so long as they can, fit in. It was then after that he now said, okay, no problem. And then what the man did was, during every exam, he will enter into exam hall and come and stand on my side. He will stand to be watching and know the possibilities in impossibility. But to God be the glory, man was proven wrong. I didn't only graduate from that school as just normal, but I graduated in a very clean sheet. So that is ability and disability we are talking about. Well, we that are in disability world, we are not such persons that will graduate and begin to ask, where is your certificate? If you need my own, I can publish it. I know of a colleague at UNN who walked into a lecturer room where the lecture was ongoing while he came in. The lecturer asked him one derogatory question. Where are you from? He said, I'm coming from outside the school. From outside school? I said, yes, sir. Who and who did you see at the gate while coming in? The man responded, I saw people selling this, selling that, standing, doing this. He said, no, there are other categories of individuals that is at that gate. I need you to mention them. The guy continued until he mentioned those that are begging. I saw those begging at the gate. The lecturer now responded, yes, that is where you're supposed to belong. This is more than disability itself. This is more than disability itself. The attitudinal change of the society is very much important and paramount to what we advocate for. Inclusive Ala Ìgbò can only be possible when you use phrases that promote the dignity of man to individuals with disabilities, knowing that what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. It can only be possible when we begin to feel the pains of one another. I want to appreciate the media, Enugu media houses. So many of them are doing wonderfully well supporting persons with disabilities, giving us voice. But we need more, like Oliver Twist. We need stations that will take up disability matters as a steady program on radio. So that our society will begin to know what they never knew. Sometimes I also know. I must not also forget the fact that some act in ignorance. Some actually do not know what they are doing. Just like Jesus will say, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. We understand that side. But Onye nakuzi without Tikemota. Because learning is not only the classroom. When you see me standing on the way to, flag down any vehicle or keke rider going to any part of Enugu, many times if I'm to share the experiences that persons with disabilities face, you will cry. And that is why we say it is not by sympathy. It is by empathy. Join us. Take up this matter as part of your work. Speak on behalf of the vulnerable, the weak. Let the strong carry the weak. Let's continue this journey together. We need one another. I will stand on the way to, I'll come out early in the morning going to work or going to any place. I may end up going late because why? The keke riders will see me. The moment they notice that I'm a person with a visual impairment, the person will zoom up. Hey, I can't carry this person. If you're on wheelchair, if you ask them, they will say, hey, how can I be carrying person on wheelchair? Is that what I came out for? Forgetting that same thing that happened to that mama, that papa, that boy or girl can happen to anybody. It is not me tomorrow, it can be me tomorrow. I mean, it is not me today, it can be me tomorrow. The message is clear. I want to emphasize more and round off by saying that a call to Enugu State Disability Commission is no longer, it has become a matter that should no longer be postponed. We call on Enugu State government, we call on Ebonyi State government, we call on Imo State government to implement and inaugurate the Disability Rights Commission of their various states. And by crying the cry of each other, we will have an inclusive Ala Ìgbò that will serve the interests of all, irrespective of ability or disability. I will end here for the purpose of time. God bless us all.
All right, so very quickly, I'm going to be introducing our next speaker for today's conversation, and that will be Mr. David Anyaele. So David Anyaele is the pioneer chairman of the Abia State Commission for the Welfare of Disabled Persons, and also the founder and executive director of the Center for Citizens with Disabilities. A respected advocate for disability rights in Nigeria, he has dedicated over 2 decades to advancing inclusion, equality, and social justice for persons with disabilities. In 1999, during the Sierra Leone Civil War, Mr. Anyaele survived a brutal attack that resulted in the amputation of both forearms, transforming personal tragedy into advocacy. He has since become one of Nigeria's most influential voices for disability rights, playing a key role in the passage and implementation of disability legislation at both state and national levels. Please let's put our hands together for him. Mr. David Anyaele holds a Master's of Science degree in Law and Diplomacy from Babcock University, a Bachelor of Science in Management Science from the University of Education, Winneba, Ghana, and a Diploma in Public Relations. Widely regarded as a seasoned administrator and visionary leader, he continues to inspire resilience, self-empowerment, and collective action among persons with disabilities across Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, with a resounding round of applause, please let's welcome Mr. David Anyaele as he comes up to make his presentation. Please keep clapping until he gets here. Keep clapping, keep clapping. Thank you.
Igbo, mamano. Yeah. Igbo, bueno. Yeah. Igbo, bueno. Yeah. Enugu, mamano. Yeah. I'm so excited to stand before the city owners of Enugu and to share my thoughts around the topic today. I must commend Onyebuchi first for opening our eyes on key issues we need to appreciate around people with disabilities and Southeast Ala Ìgbò in particular. I always hear about Ńkàtà Ụ. I've seen some of my leaders coming here to participate in conversations that has to do with our people. When I saw the likes of Professor Chido, Chinenye, who is more or less my colleagues in government, and other eminent personalities coming here to lift our mind on some of the things we need to understand. So, here I know I'll be leading us to understand where I'm coming from. Maybe I'm Abia. Onye, when disability now, you know, what disability occur, what we experience. In CK and by disability may kind of hurdles we struggle with as people with disabilities. Iwu ndeke I kwesịrị ịma Onyebuchi on some of the laws that has to do with people with disabilities. I will only be sharing with you comes today in Abia State. Then about the question we like ije ho na nkokwara ihe kwesịrị ime as Igbo, a kind of recommendations why we have this conversation. Permit me to state here that everything I'm going to say is my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with the office I occupy, I'm occupied before, but personal experience, because as they told you, I'm a political appointee and I work with government. Ladies and gentlemen, disability is real. Disability can occur at any time. As we are sitting here, someone, somewhere, is losing either his eyes, his ear, or his limbs. If you want to understand what I'm talking about, you can go to orthopedic hospital here. You will see people, either their hand is up or their leg is up. You can see other people who are struggling with part of their body. So it has nothing to do whether I'm rich. In fact, the more rich you are, the more vulnerable. You can suffer diabetes, and diabetes can amputate your 2 legs or your 2 hands. The more poor you are, the more susceptible you are to acquiring disability. So if you are poor, you will face disability. So when we talk about inclusive Ala Ìgbò, we are looking at to what extent do we accommodate everybody, whether you have disability or not. I don't know much about disability until you had a part of it when I lost my two hands in Freetown, Sierra Leone. I'm a businessman. I started life as a clearing and forwarding agent in Port Harcourt. I did clearing. From clearing and forwarding, I started exporting. I was exporting to Angola, to Rwanda, to Sao Tome and Principe. I was also exporting to far South Africa, Mozambique. Then later, I also started investing in business around West Coast. West Coast is from Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and all the rest, because I enjoy export. Export is like when you do pound 1 from 10. You know, when you export, they pay you in dollar. By the time you get back to Nigeria, if you change it with the current exchange rate, you'll be smiling. In those days, the exchange rate was $1 to 18 naira. So when you know what it means, you do export. When you come back to Nigeria, you are happy. So if you can do once in a quarter, if you can load 1 container load of goods and you export it, you're okay for the quarter. So export was good for me. So I decided to invest in West Coast. Unfortunately, the RDF rebels, they were fighting to overtake the government. They captured me because of my identity as a Nigerian. And in the course of the interrogation, they decided they are going to cut off my 2 hands. I begged them. I said, go to my warehouse, go to my residence, anything you like, just take. But don't cut my hand. But they told me that the instruction was that any Nigerian found in this place must be killed. Better still, the 2 hands must be chopped off. So while I was arguing, negotiating for them to release other Nigerians that were captured within my area, they came and said the instruction was that my 2 hands must be chopped off. So they asked me to position my hand in a stool. That same stool and the knife has been used to cut other people's hands in my presence. One of them is Benedict Ebuna. He's from Anambra State, and Emma Ebuna. They are all my friends. And Benedict did not survive it. Benedict died on the spot, but Emma also survived like me. But my own was more severe. So when they cut my left hand, I said, how much do you want? Let me buy the right hand. I don't want you to cut my right hand. They said, no. That the instruction is that my 2 hands must be chopped off. So I started begging. While I was begging, the rebels, about 14-year-old boy, cocked the AK-47 and wanted to open fire on me. I said, okay, you can cut the right hand. So I gave him the right hand. I put it in a stool. They cut it and cut it and cut it. So as I was crying and shouting, I was calling on God to help me. One of the rebels came to me and said, why did I call God here? That we don't call God here. So they brought fuel and poured on me and set me on fire. So while the fire was blazing, the commander came and said, who set me on fire? They should remove the fire, they should off it. And the instruction is that I should go and tell the ECOMOG commander, who is a Nigerian, General Masue Kobe, that they should leave Nigeria, leave Sierra Leone, that Sierra Leone is not for Nigerians. So as I was moving from that place, as I was going, they pour water, they remove off the fire, and then I started walking along the waterside junction. It was there that the UN contingents came to rescue me. The Nigerian contingent of ECOMOG cleared the way, captured the area, and I was asked to move me. And from there, they moved me to Kodot Hospital in Freetown, where I was given first aid. The Nigerian contingent of ECOMOG came, and they lifted me and took me to ECOMOG Hospital, where I was treated. Then they brought their aircraft called Charlie. And they brought Charlie. I was evacuated with Charlie with a helicopter, flown back to Lunge Airport, from Lunge Airport to Yaba, Lagos. That was on the 3rd of February, 1999. And I was in the whole of 1919, that's February till August, I was being treated at the military hospital in Yaba. I was confirmed stable, August 30th, and I was discharged. Discharged to face the reality. Discharged to see how it means to be a person without hands. So everybody believed that the future is bleak and nothing good will come out of me again. In the moment I got back to Aba, where I was raised, where we live, stigma, discrimination, isolation was activated. So I was like, how am I going to do? How am I going to live life? How am I going to overcome the stigma of disability? My friends, when they see me, because we live in the first floor, when they see me, they will pass the other way so that they will not see, interact with me. Sometimes when guys are drinking in the bar, they will be discussing me, and when I'm coming, people will put their hand in their pocket to look for money they will give to me. So immediately I was classified as a beggar. But something happened. I was writing to different governments, asking for support. I wrote to Abia State government. My request was rejected. I wrote to Enugu State governor. All the governors in the eastern states of Nigeria, I wrote to all of them, asking for support. Because my case was televised in the television. People were listening to it. It was being read everywhere. And guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody was interested in my story. So, what I did was it got to a stage, it was affecting my mental health. So I had to leave Ala Ìgbò. I have to leave Ala Ìgbò and move to Lagos. On getting to Lagos, the governor then of Lagos State, his name is Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He was the governor of Lagos State. The same letter I wrote to my governor, I sent it to him, and he replied me and asked that they should conduct medical examination on me and advise him. So the doctors in Lagos State, they called me, they said, His Excellency, I should come. I came, they examined me, they looked at my condition, they asked me questions, and they wrote back to the governor and told him that I need to be evacuated to Germany for medical treatment. Ladies and gentlemen, I must thank the government and good people of Lagos State for rehabilitating me. If there is anything good in me today, beyond my family, it is Lagos State. I must tell you the truth. Ala Ìgbò is the most hostile place to live with disability. We go to church, but we don't know church. We pray to God, but we don't know God. Ala Ìgbò, if you're a person with disability, if you want to marry somebody without disability, it's a task. You can't. The sister of the person you want to marry will say no. In fact, our stigma starts from our sisters and our mothers. If your mother accepts you or your sister accepts you as a person with disability, the whole world will accept you. If your sister rejects you or your mother rejects you, the whole world will reject you. What helped me was that my mom and my sister accepted me, and they keep pushing me to where I am today. The question is, why am I here standing talking? I didn't mean to come. When I came back, I was flown to Germany, Ottobock, where my artificial hand was fixed. My artificial hand was fixed. It was the people that contributed the money. They did a fundraising for me. And they got the money. I was flown to Ottobock. The hand was fixed. So when I came back, I discovered what it means to live with disability in Nigeria, or to be a person with disability. I was like, what can we do to help other people with disability, for them to recuperate, get rehabilitation, and start to live a better life? That's how we founded an organization called Amputees Rehabilitation Foundation, because we believe that charity, or through medical, that we can be able to support people with disabilities. And we tried it and tried it. It was the most difficult thing to do, because the bulk of the Constitution says the welfare of security and welfare of the citizen is the purpose of government. The citizens individually may find it difficult, and the right of people with disabilities were grossly abused. Nobody cares. Even the civil society group do not understand their role and responsibility in protecting people with disabilities. It was while I was interfacing with Amputees Foundation, I was engaging with the mainstream civil society organization using CLO as a point of contact, that the likes of late Chimobane, Professor Chido Denkalo, late Innocent Chukwuma, and many other, forceful men and women with capacity, they began to mentor me, to lead me on what it means to do this work, because they begin to see what I was seeing. Because every time they publish a book, I say there is no conversation around disability issues, and they say it's correct. That was how we had to change the name of our organization from Amputee Rehabilitation Foundation to Center for Citizens with Disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, there are different models of disability. And these models of disability represent the way we treat disability issues in our community. One of the first models we use as a people to address disability issues is what we call religious or traditional model of disability. The religious model or traditional model of disability postulate that people with disability suffer disability by reason of the sins they committed. Therefore, for them to recover, they should confess or sacrifice should be made to the gods so that they will be able to come back or accepted or regain their lives. So people who promote religious model of disability, what they do is that when they see people with disabilities, they pray, they do fasting, they do anointing service, they do, a healing program. In fact, when they want to do crusade, what we'll be hearing is that the lame will walk, the blind will see, the deaf will hear. But is that what people with disabilities want? No, that's not what they want. That's not what they want. So, if you go to church, if the healing, if they say, stretch out your hand, every church member will target the person with disability. And when they stretch your hand, if your healing didn't come, they start substituting you. That this one, they begin to suspect you that your sin is too much, and your faith is very weak. That is why you're not. So, because of that, people with disabilities, they don't go to church. You don't see them in churches because they feel that they will be target of prayer requests. And the traditional way, the traditional people, they will ostracize you, they will stigmatize you. Your parents will not have a voice in the community. If they want to discuss you, they say, hey, Mama Nkana na ahunzo. Hey, Papa Nwanne na ahunzo. Onka mpa ya na ewa aka. So they will not call you by your name. They will call you with your type of disability. Am I mentally clear before? Yes. You've heard it before, eh? So that's what that's how they describe you. So that model believes that if they make sacrifice, if you confess your sin, or if they do anointing service or deliverance, disability will not occur again. That one is there. The limitation is that it promotes stigma, it promotes exclusion, it also promotes other harmful practices. Then there is another model of disability which we call medical model. The medical model of disability postulates that every disability has a medical solution. Every disability has a medical solution. So you are not seeing where we bring contact lens, we bring all manner of operation. They will take you to one surgical doctor or the other. In fact, your family will know all the doctors in Enugu that can operate the eyes, because they believe that with medical model you can be able to incorporate and gain your sight or your limb or your whatever type of disability you're undergoing. Yes, medical can support, medical can help. Science is increasing, but the issue is that when families focuses on all this without paying attention to other related issues, the individual will probably suffer stigma, discrimination, and other harmful practices. The barrier will continue to increase day by day. Another model of disability, which we also provide and other people uses it, is the social model of disability. The social model of disability postulates that it is the society that makes people with disabilities to struggle in life. That if societies are able to remove the barrier that hinder people with disabilities, that people with disabilities will be able to participate and enjoy freedom, liberty, and contribute to the socio-economic development. So the social model postulates that we all must take responsibility for the pain and agony and the barrier people with disabilities faces. So the question is, when you go to church, when you go to school, what barrier do you see that hinder people with disabilities that you need to remove? We'll be discussing this barrier. Then the other model, which we also use, is the right-based approach. The right-based approach postulates that we should treat people with disabilities with dignity and respect. That they have right to education, right to health, right to rehabilitation, right to community life, right to access to public infrastructure, communication, name it, all the rights. That is right-based approach. So if you apply right-based approach and social model of disability, you will discover that people with disabilities will be able to participate in the society on equal basis. The question is, what are the hurdles that people with disabilities suffer in their communities? One of the first hurdles is that hurdle called attitudinal hurdle. What do I call it? Attitudinal hurdle. That attitude that says, he's disabled. He has disability. Don't go to him. If you go to him, you will get disability. Don't touch him. Don't relate with him. It is that promotes stigma. It is that promotes isolation. It is that attitude. Because attitude, you can't see it. Can you see attitude? Can you see attitude? But people can behave it. Am I correct? People can. So, because it is a behavior, consciously or unconsciously, you wouldn't know when you did it. You just shift. You just say, my friend, let's go. I don't like sitting beside this person that is blind. Oh, he doesn't have hand. I don't like sitting beside him because of the nature of disability. So attitude is a very wicked, barrier that makes people with disabilities to struggle in life, without knowing. The other barrier that people with disabilities suffer is the barrier that has to do with environmental barrier. What do I call it? Environmental barrier. That environmental barrier states that people with disabilities struggle to participate in the society due to lack of access. So, in your school, in your church, in your community, can people with disabilities enjoy the facility? Yes, people will say, oh, we have barrier. Oh, sorry, we have RAM, like the one Center for Memories has. Where is behind? You need to go and review that, I've told them that they should go and review it. That place is a suicide joint. But what I'm trying to say is that when you have RAM, access is beyond RAM. It's beyond what? It's beyond what? So access includes that the toilet. The toilet. Can a person on wheelchair use the toilet? So if a person with disability cannot use their toilet, what that means is that he can access your church. But imagine a woman with disability, if she's pressed on wheelchair, how will she do it? Just look at your church toilet. All of us go to church. Am I correct? We go to church. We go to school. We go to work. Just look at either your office or your school or your office where you work. Look at the toilet. Ask yourself, if this my comrade on wheelchair enter your office, if she says she's pressed, where can she use your restroom? So if the restroom is not accessible, there is no access. So I want you to pay attention to it, because when we say we are the one causing the difficulty people with disabilities are going through, look at yourself and hold yourself to account. That is environmental barrier. There's another barrier called institutional barrier. What do I call it? Institutional barrier is, I heard when Festus was saying, we have laws, but are not implementing it. It's beyond law. So when organizations do not have law, do not have a policy that speaks and say, in this organization, we don't discriminate by reason of disability. If you don't have such statement, if you don't have such value in your organization, if you don't have such statement in societies where you belong, there is institutional barrier. Because institutional barrier postulates that you should have law, you should have policy, you should have guidelines that ensures that no one is discriminated, no one is blocked, no one suffers barrier by reason of disability. Then the other barrier or hurdle people with disabilities struggle is communication barrier. What do I call it? Communication barrier. Communication barrier has to do with ability to communicate. You can see this fine lady beside me here. She is communicating to the deaf community. And the deaf community is hearing what I'm saying, because there is a sign language interpreter interpreting to her. The blind community wants to hear, wants to understand, wants to feel, wants to know what is going on within the environment. So, to a blind person, he needs audio. He wants to hear what you are saying. He needs description. of the environment so that he can be able to hear, to communicate, and be able to fit in within the society. So if we're able to understand how this barrier manifests in different areas of our work, then you will understand why the laws we have are very, very important. The reason is because we have, as he mentioned earlier, the United Nations Declaration of Human and People's Rights, including the UN Convention, the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Provision Act, the Nigerian Constitution, as well as state disability laws. All they are saying is remove barrier. Nobody is saying. All these laws, they're saying remove barrier, remove barrier, remove barrier, and ensure that people with disabilities are able to participate and be able to enjoy the benefits others are enjoying. And when these barriers are removed, what are we going to get? What we are going to get is that you will see more people with disabilities participating, contributing. You will see the burden of taking care of that person with disabilities lifted, reduced in their family. You only see, improve socio-economic status of these people with disabilities. You can see Festus. He's learned, he has gone to school, he works, he earns, so he takes care of other people, not just for himself, but he takes care of other people. Unlike other people that are not privileged to go to school or being lifted, every member of their family are involved in taking care of them. Today, Chichi will take care. Next tomorrow, Chukwudi will take care. The other day, Ifeanyi will handle, because the individual is not able to live independently like every other person. Another thing is that it increases poverty. It increases what? It increases what? Because disability causes poverty. The cost of taking care of one person with disability is so high. Do you know the artificial hand I'm using now? This artificial hand, when I bought it in 2003, it was $5 million naira in 2003. But today, it's 28 million naira. 28 million. So even if you go to a governor and say, hey, Mr. Governor, I want you to help me to buy artificial hand. Immediately you tell him how much. He said 28 million naira. The first thing you remember, I can use it to mobilize people to vote for me. I can use that 28 million naira to do empowerment. You want me to give it to only you? I don't think it's possible. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's how politicians think. That's how they think. So it's so when we are able to open barrier, allow people to participate, allow them to be part of the society, the burden of taking care of them is highly reduced, and the life become more easier for them to participate. Ladies and gentlemen, you may ask, what are we doing? Say, Mr. David, they say you are commission chairman. What are you doing in Abia State in order to change the status quo for people with disabilities? We discovered that passing the law is one. And that thing is to understand the law. And that thing is to take action in order to ensure the full implementation of the law. So in my state, I'm so privileged to have a governor. His name is Dr. Ala Ìgbò. What he did was to establish the Commission for People with Disabilities. Not only establishing it, in fact, in his manifesto, when he was campaigning, the key statement he made is that he wants people with disabilities to participate in leadership positions. So for people with disabilities to participate in leadership positions, there are a lot of things to put in place to make that to happen. One of them is to appoint a special advisor or assistant to him on persons with disabilities. And that was the first thing he did when he came to office. Beyond that, he went further to ensure that the Disability Commission is also established with 5 persons with disabilities appointed as board members. As I speak to you, the board is running. The board also, the commission has a budget, because one thing is to understand disability issues, one thing is to understand the law, one thing is to know what to do, but if the government does not make budget for its implementation, it can't go far. We've seen different states that have disability commissions with a no budget. You can imagine a commission that their annual budget is 500,000 naira. What are you going to use it to do? You can't even pay flight tickets from Owerri to Abuja and come back. You know what that means. So what that means is that it's just on the paper, much is not being done. I'm privileged to work with a governor who prioritizes inclusion, who prioritizes equal opportunity, who prioritizes participation. So today, we've trained the permanent secretaries in Abia State on disability law, on how to make budget and implement it in favor of people with disabilities. We've not only ended there, we've also trained the local government chairmen, because we discovered that many people with disabilities that are living in the rural area, they struggle to meet with their the councilmen to get understand. Even the councilmen don't understand. So we said we're also going to build their own capacity. So we had to build the capacity of the chairman of local government. Not only building their capacity on their role and responsibility, but also building their capacity on how to make budget for artificial hand, for wheelchair, for white cane, for interpreters, for accessible environment, so that by the time they start their work, we won't be building again when they are building. If you are building a house and you make provision for that, you won't struggle to redo it again. So they bought into it, and in fact, they are sending me text messages that, Mr. David, what we've said, we're implementing it, because I told them that if they do it well, I'm going to send their name to the UN so that the UN to come and see the good practice they are doing and be able to live their work for international visibility. And it became a competition among themselves. Everybody's trying to see how he can bring out something or the other so that we can use it to showcase that they are doing very well. But beyond that, also we are creating awareness, because we discovered that people are not aware about what we are talking about. Just recently, we are focusing on children with intellectual disability. Our budget for 2025 is 35% for health and education. Then we say if we are having 35% for health and education, and health and educational practitioners do not understand disability issues, it's going to be a minus for us. So what we are doing now is that we are training supervisory counselors on education and health, teachers and healthcare service providers in the local government across the state on disability inclusion. Just yesterday, we finished with 3 local governments where their health workers, educational supervisors, and other service providers on inclusion and disability, so that they will be able, as children are coming in to register, when they see a child with disability, they will be able to recognize it. They will be able to know what to do, how to position it. If nurses or doctors see people with disabilities, they know what to do. Let me tell you why engaging the doctors and nurses is very important. When women with disabilities go to hospital, they suffer much, especially if they have hearing impairment or they are on wheelchair, especially when they are pregnant. Some nurses can be rude. Not this one that I hear. You hear all these issues. Hey, who did this thing to you? Hey, the man that pregnant you, that man is a wicked man. That man is a bad man. Why must he do this type of thing to you? As if she doesn't have right to reproductive health. Everybody have right to reproductive health. Am I correct? Yes. Am I correct? Yes. Every human being, adults, have right to sexual reproductive health. So everybody is entitled to it. And before you know it, many women with disability, they suffer miscarriages. Many of them die untimely because of their struggle with healthcare practitioners vis-a-vis managing their pregnancy or even childbirth. A typical example is my colleague in the commission. After putting to bed, a few months later she died. Just 2 months after her appointment as a person with disability in government. So these are some of the issues that people with disabilities go through day by day, and we don't understand it. So capacity building, training of stakeholders within the government is critical. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I want to summarize because we have talked too much. We need to take action. We need to begin to, when we go to our various communities, our various families, our various churches, our various clubs, ask yourself, what does your constitution of your club say about people with disabilities? Hello? Hello? You understand what I said? The constitution of the women's group, the constitution of the club, the constitution of the 8th grade, the constitution of the town union. Please, it's time for us to review it and ask ourselves, how does this constitution speak to disability issues? We need to support the recrafting, amendment of our community constitutions to say no one should be discriminated, no one, all barriers should be removed. What that means is that if your community is building hall, if they are building public toilet, if they are building school, they will take measure to ensure that people with disabilities are not shortchanged. That is one. We're also going to be looking at recognizing success stories that are taking place within our communities. Children with disabilities that are doing well, we need to showcase them. We need to bring them to limelight. We need to make them to be visible so they can serve as role model to other people with disabilities within their communities. Not only the people with disabilities, but people without disabilities, because we draw strength from each other. Am I correct? When we see people who are doing well, we like to copy them, we like to do some of the things they are doing. And we need to demand for implementation of disability laws across the board. I heard when my comrade said that in Enugu State, they are waiting for the establishment of the Disability Commission. Governor Mba is a hard-working man. He's very industrious. He has a very good plan for the government and people of Enugu State. And we are seeing it in the work he's doing everywhere. I want to request anybody who is under the influence of this program to kindly whistle to him that there is a law in Enugu State that needs full implementation. And that law is Enugu State Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Law. That law provides for establishment of a commission. What does the commission do? Commission support the government to implement the law. The commission supports all ministries, departments, and agencies in the state to understand their role and responsibility in implementing the law. So when we are able to whistle it to him, when we are able to comment it to him, I strongly believe that he will act on it immediately. It's just that he has not understood it. And the real people that need to talk to him for him to understand it, it doesn't cost much to establish it, because most times government look at cost of establishing such agency. There is no much cost. You are not recruiting new people. All the people that will work in the commission will come from different ministries, department agencies that will be moved to the agency, and they will start their work. So it doesn't require additional. Maybe few people with disabilities, as time goes on, they will be coming in and they will be recruited for them to participate in the law. I also know that other states are planning to implement disability law, be it in Enugu, be it in Anambra, that already have. They also have a commission, and we want the full operationalization of these commissions. Also, we're also looking at Imo State, Ebonyi State. The law is there. We want the governor to sign it, the bill on disability, so that people with disability will have a legal framework they can use to negotiate in classroom, in the hospital, in public space, so that together, Ala Ìgbò will be a place where all of us will be proud to live as people with disabilities. Ala Ìgbò will be a place where when people with disabilities go home, if they are coming from outside or they are within, they will be champions. As I speak to you now, in Abia State, we are hosting the para badminton. 30 countries in the world are currently in Abia competing, and they are all people with disabilities. From Brazil, from Peru, from India. India came with 50 delegates. And they are giving all the opportunities for them to be. People with disabilities need to participate, they need to explore and be all they want to be. And I believe that is possible in Ala Ìgbò. And together, we will have Ala Ìgbò that does not discriminate, that does not exclude on the grounds of disabilities. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you.
I will quickly now introduce the next session, which is the moderated panel session. We'll be having Yagazie Nwanne Ozalo. Yagazie is a radio personality at Urban Radio, and he'll be driving this session with the two keynote speakers. Please join me in welcoming once again Mr. David Anyaele to the panel and Yagazie to moderate this session. Thank you.
And a big round of applause for the speakers themselves who have given us very insightful speeches. Mr. Anyaele and Mr. Onyebuchi, thank you very much. I would also like to thank Nkata, that's the events, and the Center for Memories for always organizing this monthly event. It's very sacred and very sacrosanct that we have conversations like this. The Ford Foundation for sponsoring it. The Onye and Nwanne thing is a very sacred call to everybody. In fact, in my village, we have our own construct of it. I'm from Ngo, and we say, that if you're privileged to have a spoon to eat with, you must also remember that there are those who are using their hands to eat. Although I've queried that sometimes because I ask if there's a competition, an eating competition, I would rather use my hands to eat than to use a spoon because I know I would, get a lot of muscles down there quickly. And yes, just to follow Anole's advice, Yagaze Obiwanne is a tall, dark. Am I very tall? Somebody said very tall. Tall black man in his 30s, today donning a black kaftan, northern Nigeria style kaftan. And it's a privilege to be here in the midst of those with special needs. This community is a very important community in our society, and they've done very many things to improve Nigeria. Please, a big round of applause for the special needs community. So yes, my task this evening is not too special. The speakers have already done justice to the subject matter. They've, given us insights. They've told stories that moved us. All I'm going to do is to pry a little bit more into what they have said. Touch on the pain points a little bit more, especially as it concerns Igbo, and understand how we can make our society inclusive and, accommodating, remove the barriers that are always there, and limiting the experience of our society for those who are living with special needs. So, if you would permit me, then I will begin the questions. Of course, we'll get to a point where you can also ask your questions, you in the audience, and also make your comments. But permit me to ask a few questions. From what has been said so far, I was taking notes. And I'll first of all begin with Mr. Anyaele, because you talked about Ala Ìgbò being the worst in terms of accommodating people with special needs. You said it before in the session that we had inside, and you reiterated it here. And it's, heart-wrenching to know that, because I believe that the people like us who love community should, be able to accommodate each other. But I would like to begin with perception, right? Because you talked about the perception when you came back after the tragic incidents that led to you losing your limbs. Let's talk about the perception. Is there something peculiar about our culture as Igbo and our tradition that makes it easy to lean towards discrimination when it comes to people living with disabilities? There's something that you've noticed that is a cultural thing that has been there for years, or an attitudinal thing?
Yeah, thank you so much. There is a value, wrong value we have here, where we practice what we call survival of the fittest. Have you heard about it before? Survival of the... Any community that practices survival of the fittest can never provide for the weak and cannot protect the weak. Because you use the weak to measure your success. You use the weak to measure whether you are doing better or not. But in a good society, an inclusive society provides for equal opportunity. Here you can see we are struggling to get the governors do this, to get the governors do that. Let me shock you. Why in Lagos? It was we, the Igbo boys living in Lagos, that promote the passage of the safety law in Lagos State as far back as 2010, 2011. Why is it the same Igbo boys that went to Abuja to secure the passage of the disability law at the national? Why is it difficult for our brothers that watch us on TV, they read us on the newspaper, then when we bring disability law to our state for them to be passed, and somebody will say it is white man document, therefore he cannot implement it here. Why would we elect people to protect the weak and the poor? The person will turn to be oppressor. Okay, let me tell you another thing you need to understand. There is what we call evil forest. Hello, have you heard about it before?
Yeah, we are.
In Igbo land, there used to be evil forest. Who are the people that were taken to evil forest? Most of the people that were taken to evil forest are people who gave birth to children with disability. Are people who gave birth to ejima. You know ejima when nobody allows ejima in Igbo land. The same culture, if you have a child with albinism, they also tag you and they take you to evil forest. What was the reason of taking you to evil forest? The family or the woman that gave birth to the child. What is it? They believe that there is a crime that the family has committed that led to the giving birth to such a child. And because of that, stigma, discrimination activated immediately. Even among people who are religious leaders. So, when a society is constructed from that background, the chances or possibility of discrimination is very, very high. The chances of exclusion is very, very high. The chances of isolation is very, very high. In Igbo land, if a person with disabilities want to come and contest for any chairman of community, whatever, they will say no. Let me shock you what happened recently in my state. 2 years ago. No, a year ago, early last year. A man with disability, a deaf person, happens to be a son of a traditional ruler, and the father died. It was his turn to take over the mantle of leadership as the next or the head of the throne. As he was about to take over, the village people said no, that a deaf person cannot lead them. It was a war. What saved the man was that while that struggle was going on, His Excellency, Dr. Oti, was elected as the governor of the state. And the moment they sent the document to him, the memo, he approved for his installation as the traditional ruler of their place, making him the first traditional ruler with disability in Ala Ìgbò. This is what we go through everywhere. So when I talk, I'll share with you the letter I shared among 5 governors in Igbo land. Not only in Igbo land, I took the letter to Cross River, I took the letter to Delta, I also took it to River State. The attitude was silent. But the moment I took it to Lagos State, to an individual, my name is not Kola, my name is not Owolabi, my name is not Abu Wahid, Abu Salam, Abu Radab. My name is not Adeshola. But the man says all lives are precious. Send this guy to medical board. Let them review it and recommend. That is attitude of people who have value for human life. That believe that all lives are precious. And I want Ala Ìgbò to believe that all lives are precious. With disability, without disability, all lives are precious. Everyone must be treated with dignity. So that is why this place is hostile. Check any Igbo guy that is doing well within the disability fraternity in this country. They are living outside Ala Ìgbò. Check. Or they were raised outside Ala Ìgbò. The chairman, the national chairman or national president of the Association of the Blind is my board member in Abia State. Stanley Onyebuchi. Stanley was raised in Nkata State. He was not raised here. And while he was in Kaduna, the family take advantage of the culture, the relationship, and the values and spaces Kaduna people create for people with disabilities, and they took advantage of it to train Stanley Onyebuchi. Today, Stanley is a very successful, prominent man within the disability movement. If you check Chidi Oluwo, who was the immediate past president of the Nigerian National Association of the Deaf, and currently the West African president of the Deaf, he was trained outside Ala Ìgbò. He lives in US, he frequents there, and he comes back here. He's from Okwa East local government area of my state. He's doing fantastically well. He was not raised in Ala Ìgbò, and he's there enjoying himself. If you look at the Nigerian representative at the UN on disability, Chris Manorom is a blind guy. He's PhD holder. He was not raised in Ala Ìgbò. He's there. And today, he's not only an ambassador of Nigeria in Sao Tome and Principe, but also Nigerian representative at the UN Convention UN State Party on Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. These guys were not raised here. What I'm trying to say is that this place, our attitude, our behavior, non-acceptance, isolation, goes a long way in making life unbearable for people with disabilities, and we need to change it.
And you believe it's a cultural thing, it's something from...
I've given you historical, our cultural practices, how we see from perspective from our forefathers. Before we were born, what our forefathers, how they transfer it. You need to know what people with disability go through. Ask my sister here, she says she's a woman with disability. I'm surprised, when next you are doing this, please bring a woman with disability so that we can get women or female dimension to this conversation, so we can enrich ourselves to this issue. So what I'm saying is not about perception, it's data driven. I've given you data. It's also what we experience. You can go anywhere and test people with disability. Ask them what is their name. There is a lady called what's her name? The deaf lady that comes here. Catherine. She's a deaf. She's from Enugu State. She's a lawyer now. Catherine. I think she's the first lawyer with disability, with deafness from Ala Ìgbò. She's the first lawyer. Even if Nigeria as a whole, she's the first lawyer. She's from Enugu State. She's from Enugu. I interview her. She always cried like a baby. The way our people manages disability issues that makes her sometimes to come here is very difficult for her. So it's not a perception, it's a reality.
All right, thank you very much. I'll come to Mr. Onyebuchi at this point, because why I kept on asking is there a cultural thing is because some of these cultural practices are extinct now, like you mentioned, killing of twins, discrimination against, okay, maybe not discrimination, or albinos being ostracized and all of those things. Why does it persist even decades after we've, done away with these traditional practices? Mr. Onyebuchi, what was your own experience? Because you also lived in the West and you now live in the Southeast. Is there any peculiar thing that you noticed about our culture and our tradition that makes it, difficult for people living with disability?
Yeah, you said decades, as in some of our cultures have gone into extinction. It is a thing of the mind. It exists in the mind. It's just like telling me that churches are all over the places and then there is no longer idol worshiping and all that. But people still do one funny thing or the other. So it is a thing of them. Already people were born into it, we grew up with it, and we are still in it. Practice it. Like the case my boss made mention of. Kate told us that at a point she ran away from Enugu. She ran away to the west. She schooled at Ilorin, in Kwara. And every provisions are made there to bring her up. Today, in one of the meetings we had in Abuja, VC, Vice Chancellor of Ilorin University, has to travel from Ilorin to meet Kate in Abuja. How many of our people here that you will call that you will give? Everything you do here, nobody responds. What our people believe more is, these people are Biakwana also. And let me just give them something and let them go. Do you know, let me give us a brief story of how we achieved the passage of this Enugu State Disability Law. When we got to the government house, I told my people that today is not giving money. If governor gives us money, I will say no. Are we agreeing to that? They say they all echoed, yes, we agreed. We never knew that governor was watching us at the camera. At a point, the governor now ordered that they will allow us in. When we came in, the governor said, I've been watching you people at the camera. You agree that you are not receiving money from me today. So you are not taking money. Is that what you agreed on? We all shouted, yes, sir. He continued asking, are you not taking money? My people, the voices went down. If he had succeeded asking the third person, I would be the only one echoing. I was like, where am I? Why here? Was in a lot of things were running in my head. And then after looking at me, he said, okay, where is that law that you have been talking about? I said, we have it. And that was just, he said, okay, it's to send it to the government at the State Assembly as an executive bill. Because we said we don't need money. And that has been the method. Give us money. They give you money, you go. Tomorrow, you give you money, you go. So the situation needs a paradigm shift. We are tired of charity and we cannot continue. Like my boss also made mention, some of these things start from home. Family, the smallest unit of every society. That is where the whole thing starts from. Where a child with blindness or a child with hearing impairments and all that, and they will take you inside. If you want to get data for this, you visit education, a special education center, Geneva. Where at the end of every academic section, some of the children there, some of the students there, nobody comes to pick them. They would rather prefer leaving them there than coming to take them home. So it is a call. What we are all only saying is that the world is moving and we need to move with the rest of the world.
All right, thank you very much. I would now ask a question around how we can change this perception, because if we have already identified that there is a perception problem and it's predominant here in the Southeast, it has to change, because our leaders are picked from amongst us, right? And they would always have that perception. And when you bring bills that are supposed to empower those living with disability, that same perception will pose a hindrance. They will not see the urgency and the importance of that. So how do we begin to change that perception from the family units, presumably? What are your thoughts about how this can be changed, the kind of conversations that must be had to change the perception?
Yeah. So that's why I commend the Center for Memories, Ńkàtà Ụ, for bringing us together to listen to some of what we are discussing. I don't know who is sitting here. I don't know who is listening to me. But I know that influential people are here. I know that people who can, change perceptions, change ideology, change behavior, they are sitting here with us. You saw the young people, the students were here earlier today listening to us, trying to catch them young. So what we are trying to say is this: please be our ambassador. Be what? Be what?
Ambassadors.
If you're not an ambassador, call yourself today. I anoint you and I proclaim you disability ambassador. Just touch yourself and say, I'm a disability ambassador.
I'm a disability ambassador.
Nothing more, nothing else. What do? You be bold to say no to discrimination. Be bold to conduct independent audit of your church, of your school, of your community, to say, if a woman on wheelchair enters here, how will she enter? Where will she stay? How do we accommodate the person? If all of us here individually, we can go to our churches, we can go to our village meetings to ask this question and insist that change must take place. My brother, my sister, you've done your part too. Go you therefore and preach the gospel. It's just like that. You don't need to quote Habakkuk or Genesis or Revelation. All you need to do is to just say there must be access, there must be inclusion, there must be participation, barriers must be removed. Carry it as your own agenda. Internalize it. Use it as your own message wherever you go. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't be ashamed, because what happens is that when people want to speak for people with disabilities, some people, start doing shaming. Am I correct? They start doing shaming. It's like when you say you are born again in the public, they say, this one say he's born again. Look at him now. He's wearing trousers and he says he's born again. The same thing they do when people come and to speak about disability issues. When you are speaking about disability issues, they will say, why are you interested in people with disabilities? Why are you speaking about it? Don't you? In fact, they will say people with disabilities are troublemakers. Have you heard it before? Have you heard it before? That people with disabilities are troublemakers. Just because they've endured hardship, they've endured stigma, they've endured exclusion, they've endured all manner of harmful practices. Anytime they say no, they classify them as troublemakers. But with you, with people that are here, that knowledge, that awareness is primarily what we need. Because we can only do awareness when we accept it as a problem. Am I correct? If we don't accept it there's a problem here, we can't change it. Festus, myself, and every other person that are here, we are here because we believe there's a problem and we need to change it. It must not be as big as the mountain before we start pushing it. Whatever corner we find ourselves, we can make that change. We can even invest our money to make make the change. And how do we invest our money to make the change? As you also go to church, you print tracts. You know what we call tracts? What we used to do evangelism. You can equally print your own. Say no to discrimination on the grounds of disability. You can print it and share it to people. Be it 5,000 you used to print it, be it 2,000, be it mounted on the podium. If they say in your meeting, any AOB, you stand up. You say, my AOB is this. I attended this event, and these are things I've learned. I want to call on the chairman or the president to take the following action. One, that our constitution needs to be reviewed to accommodate people with disabilities. That this and this we are doing that are not good for people with disabilities need to be changed. By so doing, we have planted it. Just as he said, in our small family, in a small environment where we gather, before you know it, it will multiply. It will multiply. If you are a public speaker, mainstream disability. If you're a teacher, mainstream disability. If you're a politician, mainstream disability. If you are a market woman, mainstream disability. And how can a market woman mainstream disability? Is by paying attention to look out for those who are struggling either to see or to hear or to walk, and ensure that we make this easier for them. By so doing, we are creating an inclusive society free from barrier on the grounds of disability.
All right, thank you very much. Big round of applause for him. Very often when I'm on radio and we have conversations about issues that we have in society generally, people say talk does not do enough. I'm glad that it must begin with the conversations that we have, right? And that's why I asked, how can families come in, how can individuals come in with these conversations? But beyond the talk about it, what are the actions that can be taken? And this question is for you, Mr. Onyebuchi, especially for our sociocultural institutions and the leaders of those sociocultural institutions, traditional leaders, religious leaders. What are the actionable things that they can do to begin to have this conversation on inclusion and to take steps, practical steps in inclusion?
Well, straight to the point, I am aware that within the past few years in Enugu, OPDs, that's Organization of Persons with Disabilities, have been in very serious partnership with different civil society organizations, including that of women-led organizations. And I must also tell you that a whole lot of things have been achieved under this partnership because we carry our campaign with these women, CSOs, to traditional institutions, the Igwes. And within Enugu State, we can today boast of different Igwes having women in their cabinets. So we are also advocating same, though anywhere we go, telling them the need to accommodate persons with disabilities. So it's a gradual thing. So it's a thing of advocacy. We'll continue to talk. Do the advocacy by engaging those involved directly. I have been privileged to feature in so many meetings and engagements that we've had with the different traditional leaders across the state, Enugu. So religious leaders at the churches as well. Sometimes I will tell you also that is another serious department that we need to, in synergy, fight. I call it a fight because some of the things they say, some of the things they preach are drawn from the Bible. Take for instance, where I have in my organization 1 or 2 persons who happens to be pastors before they had their disability. And you know what? The moment that disability comes, the ministry will now disengage them as becoming pastors. And they will come back to report. And by the time you take the matter to, nobody even give you that listening ear. In fact, on a personal interactions, somebody will tell you, don't tell them I say, but what we do here is that the Bible say, and the person will begin to quote you Bible where some chapters and verses of the Bible do not allow a person with disability or someone who is under blemish, as they used to put. These are not Old Testament from the much we have seen and known. Jesus never preached that line of gospel, but they still go back to invoke that Old Testament to still give you one reason or the other. So we will continue the advocacy. We'll continue on the engagement. It is not a thing to come out on the road to start fighting. And those of you at the media, I keep emphasizing, commending you, because I know your station particularly has given us voice. Abia TV has done so, and other radio houses in Enugu. So we need more. We need more. And like Sir David said, by the time we collectively begin to talk about this, by the time others begin, at a point during this disability bill struggle, I began to invite other persons around us to say, please come and join us, so that when people listen to us on air, they will listen not only hearing Onyebuchi's voice, but also hearing from other persons that are able. That is the only time people out there will begin to take us serious. So beyond just talking about it, action-wise, we'll continue to engage both the state actors and the non-state actors for effective change to take place.
Thank you very much. Big round of applause for him, please. I like what you've said about traditional institutions making spaces for people living with disability. It's important because we often look at the political scene and say we want representation, we want people given special seats in the lawmaking chambers and all whatnot. But all of this begins in the traditional institutions and can even have a better effect in our society when we begin to see that incorporation happen. I'll come back to you, Mr. Anyaele, and I'm going to ask this question because you mentioned something, and we know that there is the need for, finances for people living with disability in terms of getting some sort of aid, wheelchairs, prosthetics, hearing aid, and all whatnot. And you've mentioned how much the prosthetic hands that you have cost as way back as the early 2000s and what it costs now. And it makes me wonder how many more people would want to have it but do not have it. And because we pride ourselves as very innovative people as Igbo, and people who do exploits in business, people who make money and flaunt it, what can you say about ways by which we can include people living with disability by using those monies in providing for them? Maybe, I don't know if it's a disability trust fund or something that would be a pool whereby we can begin to help people who are in dire need of money to get some of the aid they need to live a normal.
I strongly believe that it's the responsibility of the state to rehabilitate people with disabilities. That is my belief. Because when disability occurs, poverty has been activated. It's not always easy for families to raise the required resources to rehabilitate the individual. The local government, the state, the federal must take appropriate measure to support everybody with disabilities to access rehabilitation, access integration, and empower to live independently. On the part of individuals, I will call on each and everyone to pay attention to the environment, to identify people with disabilities, and be able to know the type of support they require in order for them to live independently. Most times it's not expensive. Most times, sometimes it may be a word of mouth, it may be a connection, it may be a direction, it may be a recommendation. Before you know it, the individual will fetch for himself and begin to live, because what everybody with disability require is just independent living. Biri kambiri, Biri kambiri. That's what every person with disabilities wants in his life. So anything that can make him to live, in a decent, with dignity, we need to support such individuals. And to do that is not sophisticated. Every person with disability must get education. If the person cannot get education, must get a skill. Skill is important. I'm not even talking about trading. Skill. Because when you have 1, 2, 3 skill, you can handle on your own. Then, if this one is not moving, the other one may move. If this one is not moving, the other one may move. Then, if you want to add it with trading, very good. But skill, for me, is most important for anybody with disability. Let me tell you what I did when I lost my limbs. So when I lost my limbs, I didn't know what to do. As I said earlier, I was into import and export business. All my money has gone. I went to negative. So nothing again. I asked myself, what am I going to do? I began to say, the only thing I can do is something that will not require me to use my hands to make money. That's what I told myself. However, how do I start it? I need to earn. I've been living independently. Living flamboyant life. Without knowing that one day I will turn to, minus zero. So it was difficult. But you know what helped me? I started with a weaving machine at Tanjosho Market in Yaba. While that weaving machine was going on, I hired somebody to be doing weaving for me. I was going about calling for customers. At the end of the month, I'll pay the individual. From weaving machine, I started with the suit buttonhole machine. From suit buttonhole machine to shape buttonhole machine. From shape buttonhole machine to monogramming machine. From monogramming machine, I began to import again. So, if an individual has a skill, what he can do to be getting money, it will be very, very good for him. Not everybody can acquire skill. Be individual with intellectual disability, autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. It's about therapists, packaging, consciously, consistently, building the individual capacity. Before you know it, you become independent and begin to fight for himself. One of the researchers that I work with from UK is a person with autism, a professor. And when he's coming to Nigeria, he comes alone. A professor, and when he comes to do research, every research he conducts, a day, he's being paid £250. Every day, £250, tax it by 30 days. And he will finish that, he will go home, he will go to another country just because he has research skill. Nothing more. So we need to identify skill that such an individual will learn, and by so doing, he will begin to fight for himself. By fighting for himself, he will begin to support others. And one thing with people with disabilities, let me tell you, people with disabilities are most honest people you can think of. If you hire a person with disability today, he will be the last person to leave the organization. Every other person will go. You know why? When he is acclimatized with the environment, to change another environment is always difficult for them. And because to change the environment is difficult for them, that particular place he's working, he will work the days of his life. So far as you are paying him the salary, so far as he's getting his money daily, he'll be working there. He will work for a receptionist to become a general manager. That is the benefit of hiring a person with disability. That is the benefit of building the capacity and capability of it. If you want somebody to last in your organization, just pick a person with disability, build his capacity, let him work for you. He will not go. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well spoken. Just one more question before we turn it over to the audience. Mr. Onyebuchi, I would like to also ask in this regard, how can we leverage technology and innovation? Because I believe that if we develop homegrown solutions, we can have these aids a lot cheaper. The wheelchairs, the prosthetics and all whatnot, it could be produced a lot cheaper if we produce them here. Maybe, I think so. But how do we leverage innovation and technology to make life easier for those living with disability?
Yeah, leveraging on innovation to make life easier for persons with disability is a state government thing where policies determine what comes in and what plays out. Where laws and other things put together is what determines how far the success of individuals in our society becomes. So it reminds us again a call for our government to become more intentional on disability matters. Like we all have come to agree, we see looking at what the Enugu state government is doing presently. Around the state, a whole lot of things have been turned around. But on the side of disability matters, nothing is happening. So it is only when those machineries are put in place that one can begin to think about. We have one or two individuals who have actually tried, bringing in technology in the disability world. But how far have they gone? We have organizations here in Enugu that have taken us on a computer ICT training for years now. And now, because they could no longer continue driving that agenda, they have resolved into online-based trainings for individuals with disabilities. And we know that persons with disabilities, the visually impaired in particular, learn more on a physical arrangement other than online. The hearing impaired also learn more other than online arrangement. So that is the limitation that individuals are having. We have individuals that have really done well. We can begin to mention individuals at the national level that are from other geopolitical zones that are good in this field, but how many of them from this eastern part of the country? So that also brings us back again to the nature of the society we have and the kind of individuals that we also have in this part of the country. So that can only be, by my own personal belief, by the machineries that the state set in place for the interests of persons with disabilities. Anything outside that, every other things could be human efforts that has limitations and constraints that sometimes doesn't give you the needed goal and results.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause for him, please. Thank you. I will turn it over to the audience at this point. So you've heard the speakers, and they've answered a lot of questions around accessibility, participation, inclusion in the Igbo society. So questions, please. If you have a question, raise your hand. Somebody will pass the mic to you. I can see a hand here, I can see another hand here, and there's another one at the back there. So.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everybody at the Center for Memories for putting up this. In fact, I was going to sleep and I said, let me just come. And I'm happy I'm here. I'm a sculptor, and I build anything with metal, anything you can think of. And while I was sitting down there, when I saw the process, I was telling my wife, I said, something can be done about this, because if you come to the gallery, I have legs and hands. Some of the sculptures are built in Accra, and I brought them here. We don't even know why we built them, but it's in metal. And I was seeing what you have in, and I think that is fiberglass. And the process is modeling the piece, take the mold, and cast with fiberglass. And how can a fiberglass piece be 28 million? I don't know what to say, but the creative spirit while I was there pushed me, and I think I can create that.
Round of applause for you, please.
And I'll not only create it, I'll create it much more interesting, because I was looking at how the fingers are, how they are. It's all about modeling and taking the mold and cast with fiberglass resin. And if I see this, so what I would want to say to do at this point is to commit myself and say, if I go through the I've been looking up for how it's being done, because if you check the sculptures of Jesus Christ in Catholic churches, let me tell us what they do there. They get cadavers from the mortuary, fresh ones that nobody owns, and they take the mold of the cadavers. And when they take the mold, they turn it into a sculptural piece. And that's what they do with prosthetics. And that's why many of them are not very, very realistic. Because they're using a cadaver, which is a dead body piece, and take the mold because they want it very, very realistic. That is why when you go out and you see mannequins, you see some of these things. I'm telling you because I've studied these things and I know them. So if only I could get a one-on-one meeting with anybody that has been doing this protest, because I know measurements are going to be taken and everything. Only one meeting, I tell you, I'll produce more than 10 of this in 1 month. And I'm looking forward to, when you're saying government, I wish everybody in this world is listening to what is happening here. So many instances were given. I am empathizing. And if I can do anything with metal, I hit metal sheets, I beat them like no man's business.
All right.
So I want to see what I can do, but once I'm given that opportunity to come up with something and there is a conversation, I think we can do better and take less, and even give it to people for free. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Uche Gabriel, and it's a pleasure. On behalf of everyone who's here, I think we should render an apology for not being inclusive enough. We've done as much as we can. I am the general manager of Solid 100.9 FM. We've had programs with Onyebuchi and so many other people, but then I think we've not done enough because we need to carry that consciousness of inclusion. When we build, whatever we do, we just need to know that we have special people that we need to take care of. I'm also excited that my state is working. I'm from Abia, I'm from Ohafia. Okay, and then lastly, I'd like to say that solving this problem will require a two-way approach. While we repent, I'd like to ask those in the disability community to also know that there is nothing wrong with them. You also need to begin to reach out. I mean, because if you defeat yourself, I mean, it's going to be difficult. I know an average individual does not understand what a disabled person goes through. But I like to see it from an angle. All of us are disabled. We have one form of disability or the other. It's just that yours is physical. But as long as it doesn't affect your mind, then, I mean, you're good to go. A few years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, somebody taught me something. I think it was Uju Akokwe. He said, don't wait to be invited. Show up. Show up at the table. Show up where the conversations are. Don't wait for anybody to invite you. So because the moment you have that feeling that I'm not as good as these people, it will stop you from coming out. So I'd like you to begin to knock on every door that could be knocked. Go to events. Don't ever feel like you're disabled, because that's the beginning of the movement. Thank you very much.
Interpreter, is it possible for you to sign?
Okay, so he just wants to show that he became deaf later in life, so that's why he has to speak. My own is not a question, but permit me to talk and show how angered I am. As someone who has lived in the north and recently in Lagos, I don't even know where to start. It's a mixture of anger, frustration, everything. Truly, in the East is far behind when it comes to people with disabilities. The North is more accommodating, the same with the West. But as somebody in the East now, our attitude now to persons with disabilities is terrible. Truly, we need to improve. We say education conquers everything. Now I have a degree, I have a master's degree. How far? Where am I? I teach children who can hear. And people are surprised a deaf person can teach. In the West, there was no problem. But in the East, it was no, it's not possible. Our attitude truly needs to change. I was with Barrister Catherine, which we talked about earlier, as far back as 2006. Catherine comes all the way from Abuja. I'll come all the way from Lagos. The response to us was very negative. Where's Catherine now? She's in Abuja. Where am I? I was in Lagos then too. So here in the home, when the home is not welcoming, what do? We go away. There is no deaf lecturer in the East. Why? Because of our attitude. We don't need crumbs. We need equal access, equal opportunities. Please, it's not about mercy. It's about families, church, everywhere. We need to spread an awareness.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to stand on the existing protocol, and I'd like to thank Malika for inviting me today to be part of this program. My name is Ngozi Ucheneze, and I'd like to start by saying that I agree very well with the last speaker. I'm the director of Serene Research Foundation, but before now, I have worked with women in the rural communities. I worked as the country director for Women International in Enugu and Plateau states. And I worked with women also that live with disability. I was actually telling my friend that I once worked with a set of women. One couldn't even stand. She rolled on her, with her body, while the other ones, they were not mobile. They had to come to the training center in a wheelchair. But the interesting thing is that the person that donated the wheelchair to us was also physically challenged. And interestingly, he drives a car. The name of his organization is Beautiful Gate, but that is in Jos Plateau. The reception we got in the east wasn't very pleasant, but for the north, it was very beautiful. He used to come give us motivational talk, address the women, and they were involved in knitting because they couldn't do animal husbandry, neither could they do maybe poultry farming, any other skills. So, but they were involved in knitting. And like you said, it's very important that they have skills. It's very important, it gives them a voice. They have financial independence, they treat themselves, go to the hospital. And can you imagine a situation where a physically challenged person is raped? It does happen. Yes, it's a big issue. Or even when she goes to the hospital, maybe she has a sexually transmitted disease and the way she's treated in the hospital. So it's very important that we do create awareness, but on our own part, each of us, we have responsibility. Apart from raising our consciousness, we have to help others to raise their consciousness as well. Because when we don't do that, we become part of the problem. Having said that, I'd like to mention something about the sculptor. He said about the prosthetic hands. I think there are modern versions now of the prosthetic hands, prosthetics, I think that's how it's called. Some of them are joined electrically. So that means that if you're going to work, this is my suggestion, you may need to work with somebody that is into that robotics. Yeah. After having fashioned it and tried it and tested it, then you may have to work with a person. I think things to do with this, we need a holistic approach. Multifaceted approach. You work with the religious leaders, you work with the schools, you work with everybody, so that we can have a very good overall good outcome. Thank you very much.
So I'm thinking, how can we implement, how will I put it? How can we implement programs in the school that the students can be heard, can be seen, and visible in society, and make them feel among in the school environment? Thank you.
You can organize, let's talk about disability. Just place the team, invite them, invite other people, let's talk about disability. You can say access to education, what are the experiences? In that let's talk about disability, they will share their experiences. Just as we are doing here, we ask questions, you will hear from them. They will make quality recommendations for you, which you can use to take it off. And by so doing, you keep on having this conversation, awareness will be created. You can invite your HOD, you can invite your D, you can invite your provost, and tell him that he's going to be the special guest of honor. So that you'll be listening to what these your friends are talking about the school environment and what can be done to make it accessible. That is an entry point, I can call it. By so doing, you have made your own contribution. Those fears we are having, you will kill it there. You will kill the fear there. Because they will tell you the best way they would like you to support them. Because most times we want to support, we are afraid of supporting, we don't know how to support. However, if you want to support me, you may ask me, Mr. David, how do you think I can support you? You can tell me the skill or some of the things you know how to do. From there, I can select one and say, okay, you can help me in this area or that area. But the challenge we have is that most times people may think that in supporting us, you would like to teach us how to do shoemaking. Whereas I don't want to do shoemaking. I want to do computer, and you are teaching me how to do shoemaking. And when I look around, I know there's no other thing I can do. Instead of staying at home, I'll go and learn shoemaking. And when I'm going, you give me a startup kit. When I get home, I will sell it. Look for a way to go and learn computer. So that's what I want to do. But if we ask the people with abilities their area of interest, it will be easier for us to mobilize resources to help them. And I want to thank the Center for Memories, Ńkàtà Ụ, for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm happy that I'm able to make it. As of last week, I'm not too sure that I'll make it. As of Sunday, as of Monday, I'm not sure that I'll be here. But I'm glad eventually, when I got to Enugu, I said, thank God I'm here in Enugu. You know, I passed Regency Hotel. That was the last time we had an event. I slept there for some time. We always use that place for, you know, capacity building for PWDs in Enugu State. So I want to say, all the people who have stayed up to that, thank you so much for staying till now, especially our VIPs, you know, for leaving everything you are doing to do this evening crusade. God bless you. I wish you safely back to your various homes.
All right, Mr. Onyebuchi, please, something to add to that. I think it was just one question, right? The others were contributions.
I think he has dealt with the question emanating from the students. I want to end up by appreciating the Center for Memories. They have been doing it and they have done it again. And they are still very much ready to continue doing it. I appreciate you, our able director and your team. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of the partners that have also, you know, I keep emphasizing on the media because I know those of them here are all our men, our own person. You see, Solid FM, thank you, sir. Oba Radio, we also acknowledge you. And to the rest of the participants, I dream for an Igbo where inclusive message should become everybody's business. Ala Ìgbò where discrimination will become everybody's business. You talk, I talk, and for us to make a better society for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe what we'll take away from all of this is the message, inclusion. We should take this message to our small circles and begin to influence them and let them understand the importance of, you know, forging an atmosphere of inclusion for those living with special needs, as I like to put it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying this long.
Thank you. And to go straight to the point, I'd like to join me in the podium, the GM of Solid 100.9 FM, Mr. Uche. Please, can you please come and make a presentation to our fantastic moderator who showed the seamless flow of the conversation. Thank you.
Okay. What an honor to do this. I want to start by thanking the two gentlemen. It was awesome. We're privileged to have you. All right. We're privileged to have you. I've been asked to present this to the moderator, and you know as well as I do that he did a great job. He did a great job. Can we give him a round of applause? Okay, so Yagazie, you may want to stand for this. Thank you for making our time. Thank you for doing a good job.
And also, I'm calling on the patron, one of the patrons of the Center for Memories, Chief Ben. Chief Ben, please.
Thank you, my Executive Director, Mr. Onye. Yes, this is a very special edition of Nkata. In fact, let me go in between the speakers. And for the benefit of those who are not able to see me, I've been asked to describe myself. I've been asked to say what I'm wearing. I think this color is a light coffee. I'm wearing a white cap. My name is Benny Taylor. I'm 62 years old, aging with gray hair, but a little handsome. Because this is a wonderful session. a wonderful evening. Since Nkata started, I think it was in 2018, first session being with Chidi Padinkalu from your state, a great man. Chidi is your guy, he's my brother. He set the ball rolling, and since then we never looked back except during the COVID months. And here we are today with two wonderful speakers. Comr, I want to make this special presentation to you. It's a plaque, okay, for such a wonderful insight and a token of appreciation from the center. This is for you too. You can have a seat while I have a few words about you. You know, during the war between 1967 and 1970, a cousin of mine who was 3 years older than myself, just about that, became blind because he had issues with his eyes and there were no hospitals to take care of him. And by the time he knew it, he was blind. But what was interesting was that after the war, when I was in secondary school, I recall, or even before I went into secondary school, I recall that he was attending the school, the special school at Ujiriba. In that center, we used to visit him there. And then after that, he actually went on to study in the United States. And came back, worked in the civil service of Anambra State, and ended up retiring a few years ago as a permanent secretary, blind. Yes, Azuka, my cousin, yes, from Neri, I'm from Neri too, yes. What that says, of course, not every disabled person will have the privilege Azuka had to go to the United States or to have parents of such background. But what it tells you is that in any situation, you can still become whatever you dream and you work hard at becoming, if you're serious-minded and work hard enough at it. And for us, it's incumbent on us to express more empathy. And based on what we've heard today, there are little things that can be done. A little change of policy there, creation of awareness here. It doesn't always have to be very expensive. And even when it's expensive, we can come up with the money. Not an individual, but we can club together to help our brothers and sisters to live a better life. What happened to you, my bro? Rather painful. I was trying not to listen to the details because very painful for me, Obinna Anyaele. I'm glad you've gone on to becoming a success story because many able-bodied people will be coming to you for help. And I also like the way you become so philosophical about life and knowing that we will have faced challenges and we can surmount them if only we are serious again and dedicated. Obinna Anyaele, this is presented to you, a token from the center, and not just the flag, but a gift bag, a memento from the center. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, can we put our hands together for our speakers this month? A very special month where we have two speakers for the first time. And if I may call on all of us to come now for a group session, group photograph,